And, obviously when we're looking at it and we're in there, I'd be amazed at how people sometimes be looking at these players and thinking certain things and they're not even, I'd be like, okay. But I'm telling you, it's really tough. And this is why, not to bring that back, but just to touch on it. What Simone Biles did, I'm just going to say this one thing, to step aside and rely on her teammates to win some gold for the Olympics. I'm telling you, athletes ain't doing that. That's why that was so selfless when I'm like, because she didn't let her pride get in the way. And this is the same thing at any level. And you have to have that. And that's good leadership. You have to have those things. And I'm going to tell you, that's tough for a player to do because they think if they only score 2 points or play 1 minute, it's like,
it's not a real contribution. Exactly.
Yeah, where your contribution sometimes is to be a cheerleader.
Yeah, you know what? And that's a military term. You're as strong as your weakest link.
Yes.
And you're in battle, you're in war. In military, we were sometimes when we ran, we would turn around and go get the person. They got left behind because we would turn the whole platoon around and go get them because they say in wartime, we need everybody. We're as strong as our weakest link. So it's like really trying to encourage that player that's not as good. And that's accountability too. I thought one time you were going to say accountability, and that's part of just being accountable for, for your role and what you bring to the team, and knowing your identity, what you bring to the team. There are times where Lisa was like, come on, Ruthie, you're supposed to be playing defense. And then when she would yell at me, I'm like, okay. Like it didn't, to me, that was my DNA. That was my part of my basketball language. I love being, you yell at me, like, that means you believe in me. I didn't take it personal. But she was like, you better than that. Sometimes she would apologize after. I said, girl, no. I said, I'm glad you yelled at me. Remind me to move my feet or remind me, said, Ruthie, you got to make those shots.
Yeah, you got to.
I love teammates like that hold you accountable so that you could be the team you need to be. And that's what I saw at Lisa was really a player that she had herself accountable. When she stunk up the gym, she said, I stink up the gym, but I'm going to do something. And to me, that's huge. That's a sign of a great player that's selfless. And sacrifice
exactly. And she's saying, I'm going to do the little things that I know help, but maybe aren't as noticeable. But I need y'all to carry me now, help me out here. So it's definitely you're saying in regard to what makes a championship team is very true. It's sacrificing and being selfless in the eye of everything that's going on. We touched on Tamika catching situation, being in Indiana, having I believe she has like a 5-18 record, which is, definitely not what you would expect of her. You kind of say, all right, do you think she's on the hot seat in terms of them saying, well, she's new. Are we going to give her another chance? Are we going to keep her here? What are we going to do with, what do you think the thoughts are regarding Tamika's situation?
Well, I don't think she's on the hot seat. Now, if she was Penny Toler, she would have been fired. Okay, let's just be real about that. Okay, I can tell you right now in LA, I don't have that luxury to be 5-18. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a young team. I think they need to get an identity. I love Marianne Stanley as a coach. Having to play for her. It's unfortunately that, and I'm not criticizing anybody because I don't like to second guess anybody, but, look at Langley who got up out of there. And I mean, my God, at one point she was playing MVP. Lauren Cox, I think I would have kept her. I can only say what I would have done as a GM,
Right.
But I don't think she's on the hot seat. I think she's, figuring it out. But yeah, if it was Penny Toler, I would have been fired. I can tell you that.
Give her a call, Penny.
Well, I'm always here to help anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna tell you something. This is how I look at it. People and I'm not bragging. I'm very proud of what I was able to do to have 3 titles coming from a player. But it's one of those situations where you ain't gonna win playing it safe. And sometimes when you get to losing, and I'm not talking about Tamika. So if all y'all catching fans, I'm not talking about Tamika. If sometimes when you get to losing, sometimes. People think I need to do this to make it look like I'm doing something, or I need to do this or maybe do that. When sometimes it's not even that, you know what I'm saying? And she has a real young team. I think they just need to find an identity, and they probably will be mad. They were winning right going into the break, and I think they lost their last 2.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, you ain't winning in this league without having at least some veterans on that team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
I don't, and that's just the reality of it is. And if you look at the teams that are winning, they got vets. You know what I'm saying? They have vets on the team. You know, that's why Dallas is playing pretty very consistent now. Super, super talented. But to be honest with you, okay, who's the leader? Is it Enrique? Is it Sabalas? Or who else is on that team? Like, you know, Marina's done a marriage who I think she win most improved probably. You know, Mayberry, who the Sparks had. And you know, it's a tough situation to be in, but you know, Tamika's a champion, and you know, I hope she did her way out of it. But this league is really, really tough, and you know, you have to put yourself out there and make some moves sometimes. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care what team it is, you will not win without some veteran leadership.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And I know that because it's the only league I've ever been in. And Ruthie, you would agree with that, would you?
Oh yeah, I was saying earlier too, and we were talking about I think Atlanta team. You know, one time I think that you definitely got to have that leadership within the team. Outside the coach, you got to have someone to step up and just say, "Hey, we got to take charge." And that's what veterans do. You know your identity. Say, "Hey, you know what? Hey, this is our journey. We can't look back 5 years from now and blame the coach. This is part of our movie. We're the director of this, so you got to take charge and you got to step up with boldness and confidence. And most times it's the veterans that do that. And so I definitely agree with that. And like I said, Forrest Catcher, we were talking about earlier. Obviously, she's a pro, and I know as a player, you know the kind of player she was to sit back and and watch and just how she must be just like, oh my God, if I how tough that must be.
She need to go get a catch.
Hey, she need to go catch.
She need to go get a catching. Okay.
But if you look at what Atlanta did, right? Atlanta brought Candace Dupree back because it's like you said, you need that solid, that solid piece.
A little too late though.
It was too late.
Absolutely. A little too late.
Oh, they need her. They need her.
A little too late.
She would have been a stabilizing factor earlier on in the season.
But that's where I say, and I'm not talking about catchings. Everybody out there, I'm not talking about catchings. I love catchings. Like I say, go get a catch. But I don't care what it would have cost to keep Dupree in Indiana. I would have kept her in Indiana. That's a player I would have paid. I'm not paying so much. Sometimes as a GM, you're not paying for your talent. And she's talented. Always been one of the most efficient players in the league. But now I'm paying for your leadership. What's the price for that? You get what I'm saying? So sometimes when you pay a person, it's not always about their talent.
And guess what? That was a player. That's why Taj had such a powerful.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
She was. I'm talking about that girl. You look at the stats. Her stats may not hardly be nothing, but her leadership and her presence, and her, she was always available. Her presence was there, and she wasn't having a great game. She encouraged her teammates, and she led the team like she was scoring 30 and 15. But her presence was big. Don't you think? Her leadership.
Yeah, that's what that was an excellent example. Because Taj always bring it. She brings the energy. She gonna talk in the huddle. That is definitely a player that it wasn't about her. It was about the team. And that's why I say, and like I say, I'm not telling it. I don't want nobody to go back trying to run and say I'm trying to coach Keston's team or be trying to be her GM. I'm just telling you what Penny Toler would have did. I would have been like, okay, what do you want, Dupree? Because the team is just so young. Jantel's there, but unfortunately she's been hurt. But Dupree has been there for what, 3-4 years, Ruthie? About 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So that's a player that, I'm gonna play you on the strength that you've been loyal to the organization, but more importantly, because I need that one stake in the ground that I can count on.
Right.
This is my thing, and I just believe that, and I think they understand the narrative of what's going on. Like I tell you, they had interviewed me to work with them, and I obviously declined because I had committed to the other team, and I couldn't do both. I had to make a decision. But they talked about they were building, so I think they just trying to build an identity, and I don't know, maybe I know with some of the trade in the beginning, some of the things they did, I just sort of heard that why they do that, but. From my take is that they were trying to build, and she said we had a lot of young players. I don't expect too much in a way where, she knew they might struggle, and so, but maybe they looking for something this next year. Maybe this next year is that year where they catch or they grab the, I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. Like they were just trying to just keep the pace. I'm gonna ask a question. Did a girl come back from Belgium? I know they talked.
Oh no, she didn't come back. It's going to be even tough next year because teams with the Olympics being in Paris, the foreign players most likely going to stay home to try to qualify for the World Championships leading up to Paris. You know how it goes, Ruthie.
I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, like I say, I'm not trying to coach nobody's team or nothing, but that's where, you know, like you got a lot of players hurt right now. The Lauren Cox, you know.
Yeah, you have a lot of
I think-
experience, like
Yeah,
you said.
things say, hey, if you've done it, you ain't bragging, you know? And
Right.
you just giving
Yeah,
your, you know.
oh yeah, and that's where your Lauren Cox come in. I mean, she works because you can't, you know, you can't teach 6'6", 6'5".
Mhm.
You know,
Can't teach that.
So let me ask you a
and
question.
then the money's right. I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as on the cap, the money works. You know, I ain't getting away 60. I'm not giving away 60,000. The money works. You know, what was you gonna
That's
say,
true.
Rita?
No, I was just thinking in terms of Deladon coming back to Washington. Do you
Mhm.
think that her insurgent back into the lineup and just into them as period, do you think it kind of shifted the chemistry a little bit, especially in light of Charles having a phenomenal season?
I don't think so with a player such as Deladon because they had already lost 2 going into the break. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Washington might be on a 4-game losing streak. Don't quote me on that, but I know
Okay.
they lost going into the break.
Mhm.
I think with a Deladon, you know, I think it's going to be a boost. I think what's going to happen is, like I said when I first came on, it's going to be one of those things where I'm not going to cater to Deladon. And what I mean by that, play around Deladon, because right now the team should be played around Tina Charles.
Right,
And let Deladon build her energy up.
right.
Because if Deladon can build the energy up and not play because Deladon hit the floor, if that makes sense,
Right.
trust me, Deladon is going to come along because we all know a 50% Deladon is still better than what? 80% of the league?
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
so I hope, and I didn't watch their game, and I'm anxious to see them when they play against the Spark because they shouldn't be playing unless they include Deladon. The team should stay the same. And don't worry, a player of Deladon caliber, one of the most a star player and very unselfish, she'll find her moment to fit in there. And all they got to do is get into the playoffs, and they can get in the playoffs. And with a healthy Deladon, I think they're gonna cause a ruckus. But right now, they sit in 1 game outside of the playoffs, so they gotta make a move.
They have to make major moves right now. You know,
Yeah,
I think it's just all about the consistency and people understanding the position they're in. And when they hit the floor, you know, they're not coming to play. They got to realize that certain situations for that bottom portion is do or die, no matter what. So
And I'm gonna tell you something. It's interesting because, you know, obviously Vegas and Seattle are the favorite, and I'm gonna tell you something. Connecticut is ready to win a championship. You know, I think Kurt is a great coach. I think DeWanna Bonner, I mean, look what she did in the bubble last year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she came to a new team, energized them. Now Jacqueline Jones, I think, and I'm almost sure it is. She's the only player that's averaging a double-double, like double rebounds and double points. She's the only player that's doing that, right? A double-double.
right.
I think, too, just like Vegas, Connecticut, I don't know what it is about a championship. And Ruthie, you know this, when the Sparks used to play you guys, and you guys were our nemesis. We were your nemesis.
Yeah.
We were Houston's nemesis. You know what I'm saying? You knock on the door before you get let in. And Connecticut's been knocking on the door. And I'm sure they're going to try to do everything they can to keep that home court advantage. Vegas last year got beat by Seattle, you know, minus Erica DeHamby, who, you know, would have probably helped them. They're knocking on the door. You got some great storylines that are coming up. Let's just take those 4 teams that are playing right now. If Cheryl win, that'd be the first team. She'll be the first coach that have 5 championships. You got a couple sitting on 4 right now. First coach, 5 championships. That's one storyline. Okay, if Connecticut win, that'll be their first. Jacqueline Jones, DeWanna Bonner, I think that'll be her 4th because I believe she got 3. I believe in from Phoenix.
Right.
Okay, if Las Vegas win, okay, Bill, that'll be Bill's 4th. And he'll be what, the second coach to do it with 2 different teams. Brian Agler did it with 2 different teams.
Right.
Then who's the other team? And if Seattle wins, you know, I'm all for that too, because Noelle Quinn would be the first player to go from, you know, playing in the league to winning the championship. And then Sue
Exactly.
Bird will become 5-time champion. You know what I'm saying? Jewel Lloyd and them in second. You got some incredible storylines leading up to this playoffs. And that's why if you ain't watching, you better jump in because you're going to miss it. This is going to be an extraordinary championship, and it's going to be a great opportunity for all these teams to win this championship this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I was looking at the schedule. I'm saying, wow, there's some great games coming up. I know they have Phoenix here at the Liberty tomorrow. I'm definitely going to that, and that's going to be a barn burner.
Oh, yeah.
You know, naturally.
I don't watch that.
Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of big games, like for instance, Los Angeles. They got Washington. They got to beat them. To probably try to stay in front of them. Washington got to try to beat them. That's a pressure cooker.
What is LA tomorrow?
Pressure cooker.
LA is it might be tonight. I hadn't looked back at it. I wrote this down a while ago. Washington, what's today? Yeah, they might be great right now. I think they are going to be playing tonight. Might be on right now. So they have Washington, and that's going to help whoever loses going beneath the person. They're going to fall out of playoff contention. If Washington doesn't win, they're just going to drop lower. Now listen to the Sparks got, and I wrote this down. The Sparks got Washington, and then they got Connecticut back to back. Tough.
Yeah.
New York got a fire blazing Phoenix. Not once, but twice. And losing both of those games could put them out of playoff because they're right there in second. Chicago, scary. They better show up and play. Candace Parker's out with an ankle injury. They have Atlanta, okay, but then they got the champion, 2-time champion, Seattle twice, right? Then you got Connecticut. Connecticut got Las Vegas, which I think is tonight, which is whoever wins going to number one in this game because they got identical records. I just believe Connecticut has the tiebreaker. They got Connecticut they got Las Vegas and then they got Los Angeles twice. Then you got Seattle running into a hot Minnesota team. You know, Minnesota.
And a hungry Minnesota team.
And then you look at Chicago, like I told you again. Chicago has Atlanta, Seattle. Then they turn around and then, like I say, they playing Seattle. 2 games. You know, they got to get
Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to come in and try and be a spoiler. You know, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Good luck with that. And some people in Atlanta gonna hate me. And the reason I say that is, and I'm just being honest, you're on an 8-game losing streak. You know what Atlanta needs to do is shake that loser mentality, and you hope that they can bounce back. But as you see, they have a new coach in Darius. He's the single coach because Mike Peterson stepped down during the Olympics. You see that Kennedy Carter still isn't playing, so I guess indefinite mean indefinite suspension. You know what I'm saying? The good thing is Tiffany Hayes now came back, you know, and they could actually play spoilers, but I'm gonna tell you who could play a bigger spoiler. That would be Dallas.
Right.
You know, Dallas got the
talent. They got the talent. Yeah, they would actually be a better spoiler alert because
you know New York and for all you players out there in New York, anybody in New York, you better tell them, guess what? You're not going to fall into a playoff spot. They're going to have to win some games to get there. You got to do something to get there.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we're definitely looking forward to the playoffs. And I know next week when we reconvene, we'll have a lot to talk about because everything is definitely going to shift. Absolutely no way. Earlier on, you know, before we started the show, we explained to everyone our situation last week in terms of postponing the show. And unfortunately, we let everyone know about the passing of Vera's father. And we just ask that everyone continue to keep him in prayer. Keep Vera and her family in prayer. Because prayer is definitely very, very much powerful overall.
Amen.
But you know, as always, we get a last word in before we end the show. I thank y'all for allowing me to host. I trust me, this is not an easy task, but it's been fun. I think I'll try it a couple more times. So maybe I'll get good at it. Maybe I'll get good at it. You know.
No, that was good. That was fun.
You are good at it. That's why our name fit perfect. Certified Unscripted.
There we go.
You gotta be like a player coming off the bench. You gotta be ready when your name is called.
Exactly.
You gotta keep it going. So what's the last word, Ruthie? What's your last word?
My last word is to continue no matter what is happening in your life. I know with COVID, I got 3 words. 3 words. Be bold, be mighty, and keep being the best version of you. That's going to help you to rise above, because COVID, we're bigger than that. So everybody stay encouraged, stay lifted up. Hey, we got this.
Absolutely. Miss PT, what's your word? What's your words? Come on.
Mine is simple, and I know a lot of people probably gonna call it corny, but I always say in times like these, just stay grateful and humble. Because if you're grateful, you're not thinking about what you don't have. You're grateful for what you have. And if you stay in that mindset, life is good. Life is good.
And I would say my last word would be to live in the moment. Stop thinking so much about what happened way back when and what's going to happen in days to come, because we have no control over that. The only thing we have control over is what we do now, the people we spend time with now, and the people we love now. So live, laugh, and love. It's as simple as that,
I love it.
So anyway, we're going to sign off from Certified
Unscripted.
Thank you for being loyal. Thank you for coming back and being with us this week. We'll see you next week, and we look forward to it. Later.
All right. Peace out.